Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Frank here, working on the Cub Cadet forklift, garden tractor converted to a forklift. So if you're just joining the channel, if you haven't seen the previous episode, we've taken a Cub Cadet, 50-year-old Cub Cadet, stretched the frame out, and in the last couple episodes built the mast, installed the hydraulic cylinders, installed the forks. So we're getting ready to add the hydraulics necessary to operate all these cylinders. So, are you being good? Are you being good, Brutus? Huh? Are you being good? Oh, Butchie, you being good too? All right, you guys. We're gonna get started here. Okay. Stick around. Hopefully we'll get the hydraulics working this episode. Some of you. Got the mast on the back of the tractor. We've got a lift cylinder here which will lift the forks. We have commercial forks, 3,000-pound forks, though the design for this lift is 1,000 pounds. We've got tilt cylinders here, so getting the hydraulics working is kind of the focus at this point. This is a single stage mast, so the lift is six feet off the ground, the fork's 6 feet off the ground, and 1,000 pounds centered halfway out the forks. That's the kind of the design parameters, and based on that load at that point, we'll need 300 or 400 pounds in front of the tractor as a counterweight. So after we get the hydraulics working, we'll shift our focus to the counterweight and get that going, but we're going to get started on the hydraulics today. All right, I just finished cutting out this plate, which will be the valve support plate. Also, probably mount the headlights to it. We'll see about that later. But right now I'm going to go ahead and transfer punch the bolt holes. And I'm going to use 5/16 cap screws. Hex head cap screws. These are shorter than, just checking the fit. And I'm going to go ahead and transfer punch, and we'll drill this, and then we'll go mount it on the tractor dash. It's only got 3 bolt holes. So this is a twin spool valve. It has a built-in pressure regulator, and which is adjustable, though I think it's adjusted at 1,500 or 2,000 psi. Maybe it's 2,000, and it's adjustable. I don't expect to adjust it, but so this has input and output on either side, and I think you can change them to the front. I may change this one to the front because up against the dash it might be, tougher to deal with. The downside of that is, you got all these fittings, on the face. So, it makes it more complicated to get a fitting on here and being able to tighten it down. You have to stagger the heights in order to do it. Unless you do straight in fittings, it's kind of complicated. The reason I don't do, you could do straight in fittings if you put 90-degree elbows, connectors on the ends of your hoses. That's, they're more expensive to do that way, but, it might be cheaper than, having all the 90 degrees on here. I don't know. I tend to just do straight fittings on all the hoses. One, it's simpler for the installer, the guy fabricating the hoses. And what it does is it kind of makes the hose universal, so it's not for a specific application. And I tend to make all my angle changes on the connection, and I feel like it gives me just more flexibility. That's really the gist of it. This one here I may have to raise up because I don't know that I want. I mean, it would have to be out like this, so I don't know. All the connections require a lot of adapters sometimes. The more hoses you connect to the face of it, the more adapters you need. It gets. I will tell you though, if you go locally to try to buy these adapters or connections, you're going to pay a lot of money for them. Probably the most expensive place to get them is Napa. Of course, I have a local Napa here that I really like, and the guys in there are very helpful, and they make up my hoses. But the connections like this are $6, $7, $8 each. I buy most of them from online, and surpluscenter.com is the place I've been buying a lot of the hydraulics. I got this valve, I got a bunch of these connections, and you can even buy hoses from them, and they're relatively inexpensive. But the connections are like $2.25, $2.50, instead of $8. So I mean, there's a big difference in the price between buying them, online and buying them from your local store. Now they have them at Tractor Supply. There's a Tractor Supply. I don't know if where you are, if you have Tractor Supply, but here on the East Coast, Tractor Supply, there's a lot of Tractor Supply stores. And they carry some fittings too, and you may even find them in a local hardware store. I haven't seen them in big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot, but you may find them in an Ace Hardware or something, True Value Hardware, something like that. I've never bought them there. They would be pretty expensive, I think, and they're kind of a specialty item. So auto parts store and online are the places that I wind up buying them. I occasionally buy one from Napa. If I need one in a hurry, I'll go over there. I might buy one if I need it, but generally I buy them online. It only takes 3 or 4 days, or at the most a week, to get them, and the price is definitely right. I generally have a pile of them. I mean, I've got a couple bags that I've accumulated as when I need one. These are all JIC number 6. When I need, a fitting, I'll buy a couple, 2, 3, 4, and have, so I have some spares. All right, that's a long-winded explanation, but hopefully that'll help some of you. Uh-oh, here comes a couple of boys. There's my butchie. Come here, boo-boo. Here's my boo-boo. Come here. Yeah. Come here. That's a good boy. This is Brutus, and this is Butchie. They're my shop buddies. They're frequently in here with me. If I'm working in here, they'll leave, you know, when I weld or make too much noise. Of course, I don't want them in here when you're welding. But they're in here every 20 or 30 minutes checking on me. Okay, so I've got the 3 holes transfer punched and marked here. We'll throw this on the mill in the mill vise and drill these 3 holes. This is the valve support plate, so we'll put the hydraulic valve over here, and it's also going to be support for the headlights. I've got a pair of these LED lights. Actually, I've had several pair. I think I had 3 or 4 pair. Anyway, I've got I've got 3 more left actually. One I'll keep as a spare, and I'll use 2 here, and we'll just mount them. Got these mounting brackets. Probably just weld the bracket right there. We'll mount the headlight like that so we can tilt it if we want to. Anyway, so that's the plan for that. I'll have one on each side, and we'll mount the hydraulic valve over on the other side. Well, as you probably noticed, I transfer punched these holes, and for some reason the one I drilled didn't line up, so I had to enlarge it with a little mill. So best laid plans, as they say. All right, we're going to put see how this fits. Those 2 holes fit fine. It was this one that was just a little bit off. But the washer on the back side here covers up the elongated hole. Nobody will know. Just don't tell anybody. All right, so the next thing we need to do is take some measurements for the hoses. Alright, so the supply and return, both the same length. So I'm using a piece of fuel line to measure. Alright, let's look at the the lift cylinder, which will be the inside one. So we'll go from bottom there to there. All right, so this is up. All right, I'm going to say 30 inches and then 169 inches. 2 crossovers at 17 inches. crossover. One at 18 and one at 32. All right, so I take this over to the Napa so they know exactly, there's no question about what needs to be made. 1/4 inch, it's all 1/4 inch hose, all number 6 GIC fittings. Should be good. So I've got all my hoses, and I'm going to go ahead and start working on putting them on. So I will come back after I've verified everything's working and probably reorganize these hoses, make them look a little bit better. Okay, so that's the cylinder up. So push it forward, it'll come out of here. Need to put the cylinder down. Hose, which is the longest one. Alright, so that's the cylinder up, cylinder down. And this is the tilt cylinder. So this one should go forward. So that comes to the rear. Now, of course, I'm going to have a cover over this opening. I won't put that on until I redo the wiring for the lights. So that may be, next episode or the episode after that. Do the wiring, get all the lights working, change out these red lights for amber, and mount the headlights on this panel. All right, got a couple more hoses here. Got all the hoses routed and tie wrapped out of the way of the mast for the most part. So I think we're okay to power it up and verify everything works. But before I do that, I need to remove this fitting and fill this cylinder with hydraulic fluid. And that way, when I take fluid from the reservoir to fill the bottom of the cylinder, push this piston up, then the fluid in here will go back to the reservoir and make up the difference. So that's the plan. I will also add a couple quarts extra. The reservoir holds 2 gallons, almost 2 gallons. And so I can put, I think it's actually specified at 7 quarts, but generally I fill them a little bit more than that. There's no harm in doing that. I'll add an extra quart or so. The bottom of the cylinder probably takes 2 or, well, to fill up the whole cylinder, about 36 inches of the cylinder, it probably holds, and I could do the calculation, but it probably holds maybe 3 quarts. The top of the cylinder holds less because the piston rod takes up some space, so it probably only holds half that much. So I'll fill it up and we'll see how it goes. We'll operate everything and check it out, check for leaks. I got a lot of fittings. I'm sure some of them need to be tightened up. Got the operating handles here. You can install them horizontally or vertically. And so this would be up, down, tilt out, tilt back. Don't know that I'll leave them like this, but it is a little more, maybe a little more intuitive. I don't know. I know they wouldn't be like this on a regular forklift. So yeah, I'll put it on. They're both the same way. If you put them on at different angles, I'm sure you can't operate them at the same time, and I'm sure there's many forklift operators that operate both at the same time. Alright, so I think all that remains now is to fill up the cylinder with the big cylinder with oil and fire the tractor up and test it out. All right, folks, that's it for this week. Good progress. Got the hydraulics working. I didn't find any leaks. I do need to secure the hoses a little bit better. We'll come back next time, probably working on the lighting, the electrical stuff, wrap up a couple loose ends there, maybe take it outside for a drive around, see how it operates. I do have to upgrade the drive shaft, as several people mentioned in earlier episode. There's some vibration in the drive shaft. I think it's time to go ahead and go back and replace that. I have some 5/8 inch shafting. I'm going to put a bearing halfway down the shaft basically, so that'll stabilize that. And there's also some adjustments I can make to the shaft, the way it fastens to the hydro and the engine. There's some modifications there I'll make as well. So that'll give me a nice stable shaft, drive shaft. I'll probably do a lot of that off camera. I mean, it's kind of a repeat of an earlier episode, so I'm not going to bore you with that. I'll show you what I wind up doing probably, or maybe just show you the installation of the bearing, since that's different. But we'll come back next time working some more on this, and I appreciate everybody watching the videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share. Ring the bell. Leave a comment. I do read all the comments. I enjoy the comments. So we'll see you guys on the next one.